Okay, guys, before we get to the topic, I do want to tell you that it's getting hard to actually continue to promote this channel. I was actually promoting it in order to get views on Reddit on the Donald, and then for some reason, after I published the video criticizing the banning of Alicia Clegg on the Donald, they actually banned me from there because I guess you're not supposed to promote a channel, and they won't let me back on. So it's harder to get views. I am posting on a number of other Reddit subreddits, so if you guys have any suggestions as far as that goes, please let me know. But the best way for me to gain viewers, I believe right now, and to have this channel grow is on BitChute. So look for Chef Leopard on BitChute. Also look for me on minds.com at Chef Leopard. Those are the best places right now to grow. Of course, on Gab, it's a different one. It's at Starscream85. In any case, so we're going to talk today about, given the Elizabeth Warren controversy, the whole issue of American Indian mascots. And this is an area where I have, and I really continue to be a little more to the left than a lot of people who might typically, be associated with me. I don't believe that American Indian mascots in sports are a good idea. I think that they do degrade the heritage of American Indians. I don't buy the whole thing that they honor, these Indian tribes, whatever they are. Now, in saying this, I've said this several times, and I've made, I think, 3 or 4 videos addressing this during, inflection points in this controversy. There are a lot of American Indians that really do like these Indian mascots. And I think everybody, again, I think everybody has a choice, whether you're American Indian or not, to use this stuff to make it, even to do fan art. It's not something that I can tell you what to do. I think that it's the teams, it's the organizations that use these trademarks and logos that have created this problem. And unfortunately, it's a problem that's not going to be solved. Now, why am I talking about this? There's a couple reasons. Elizabeth Warren controversy kind of puts me in a tight spot because I don't really like this whole issue where American Indians are pretty much lampooned. They're basically they're taking, unfortunately, I was about to say a lot of arrows. Which is the only metaphor I can come up with. So sorry about that, but they're taking a lot of the flack. There you go, for what's going on with Elizabeth Warren. People are making tons of Elizabeth Warren puns. There's Elizabeth. One second, wrong key. Elizabeth Warren memes. So. And there's just like tons of them. Tons and tons of them. Here you go. But they are funny. What are you going to do? It's Elizabeth Warren, part of the Fokawi tribe. I don't know what that means, but and there's tons of these, and it just creates its own chain of derivative jokes. And some of the jokes are actually being made, believe it or not, by Native Americans or indigenous people from Canada that I know. And if they're able to have fun at the expense of Elizabeth Warren, I think it's fine, but I think it's an important time to address why I do stand sort of against this stuff, because it's really a culture war and there's a PC battle, and a lot of people think that this is really an issue of political correctness. I would say that it's beyond political correctness. There is a problem in America where, in terms of health, poverty, and other metrics, American Indians rank dead last. There's a lot of people who, they justify that. They say, oh, they have a ton of casinos and whatever, blah, blah, blah. They get casino money and, they get drunk and whatever, all these stereotypes. If you look at the metrics for American Indians, okay, let's go back to this page. I think they have some of the worst statistics in with diabetes. They have, let's see here, life expectancy. So 5.5 years. This is from National Institute of Health. 5.5 years less than the average American. So I think, I don't believe that with a situation like that, with a a group of people in this country that are our fellow citizens, I don't believe that we should just be making fun of them all the time like these teams do with their stupid mascots. I think that there deserves to be a serious addressing of the actual needs of the people. And I would say, hear me out here, that when you put somebody on a helmet or on a baseball cap that looks like that, okay, it does kind of make people take them less seriously. It does. Would you take somebody seriously who looks like this? No, and it is a problem, and I would say that there's a lot of American Indians that don't care about that. But what's going on beyond this? Okay. These American Indian football teams and baseball teams started to use these mascots in order to try to say, well, we need somebody that's fierce and a warrior or whatever. Well, I like to inform you guys, not all American Indian tribes were warlike, okay? And a lot of these were very different societies. There's the Pueblo Indians. Of course, there's Penobscot over in the Northeast, and there's the Sioux of the Great Plains. It's not really a uniform culture. It's actually quite the opposite. American Indians, Mesoamericans, are a very diverse group. It's like magically people just completely made up a category of people, and it kind of it projects common issues onto a very different variety of people. Okay, I would say that, unfortunately, a lot, and of course there's MTV Decoded here, which is a retarded show. And I will say retarded. I'm not going to apologize for that. But I'll tell you what the effect has been on my life of American Indian mascots. Not that I'm saying that if you're a fan of these teams, you should stop following these teams or something. I'm just putting it from my personal standpoint. I grew up in Cleveland. My favorite teams growing up were, of course, the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Cubs. Sometimes I'd follow also the Mets, and of course I did watch the Indians and the Cleveland Indians, and I followed all their runs to the World Series, and then of course we cheered for them and everything. And the Cleveland Indians were a huge fixture, still are in this town, very successful team. And every year there's a protest on opening day at the stadium. And years later, after I was probably I think it was in my sophomore year in college, I went to a protest there to see exactly what the whole issue was about, and the camcorder actually, and I recorded the protest, and I talked to some of the organizers, and even though they were very far left-wing people, they were, believe it or not, very calm and patient with questions, and I actually asked one of them, what's the deal? I mean, nobody's really bothering you, and nobody's harassing you over this. Wouldn't you say that these mascots don't really have an effect on your life anymore? And as I was saying that, one of the baseball fans actually walked up to him and yelled at him for being a fake Indian and that he's not real. So I think that that kind of took the wind out of my sails at that point. I don't have the video footage. I don't remember what I did with it because I wasn't on YouTube at the time. I think I was using it for some school project. But in any case, there has to be kind of a reckoning for exactly why these are so popular in the United States. I don't understand it. There are some other ethnic groups that get mascots, the Vikings, the Fighting Irish. I think there's a high school team in California called the Arabs. There's over here we have the Highlanders. They're a bunch of Scotsmen. Things like this happen, but with American Indians, it's more than any other ethnic group, at least in the United States. And as a Cowboys fan growing up, I still do, I still hate the Washington Redskins. I think they are basically, I see this logo, which is, you can see on the screen. And I just, it gets my blood boiling because that is our biggest rival. Of course, some people would say Philly. But part of the reason for this rivalry is the imagery, the cowboy versus the Indian. And it did kind of, it did affect my impression of this whole issue for a long time. And the symbolism behind it, I think, does take an effect on the people in society, American Indians. I just think so. You're free to disagree. I would say that some of the opponents of the mascots go a little overboard. They claim that it actually causes psychological harm to the children of Native Americans. I mean, okay, but I'm not sure that that's entirely accurate. A lot of those people like those mascots. A lot of people really don't have a problem with this, but I would say that there is a problem with lampooning an entire group of people constantly with these bizarre mascots. I mean, look at this one. I think this might be already a retired mascot from Massachusetts. But yeah, I think this isn't an issue that's going to go away, but I think it does become an obstacle to resolving the actual issues of land rights for Native Americans, water rights, sovereignty issues. Some of these American Indians, they would rather have their issues given, decided by their own local leaders. And other times, I mean, there is corruption in Native American governments here in the United States. I'm not saying that it's, devolving power to a local authority is the perfect solution, but we have in many cases, here's Indian country today, that you have this group and this team in Massachusetts that uses this mascot. This is clearly, lampooning an American Indian. So, how are people supposed to go and take their concerns to the federal level and get taken seriously? Well, in a lot of cases, they need to lobby. In a lot of cases, they need to do these protests, and sometimes, and there have been cases of very, very, I think it was Wounded Knee, the American Indian protest. In any case, in order to be taken seriously, I think American Indians need that they end up having to do things that most Americans don't need to. Partially, it's because there's not that many of them. I believe, there's only a couple million full-blooded American Indians in the United States, and we're a nation of over 300 million citizens. And also, they're spread out very sparsely, and they don't really have a political power block. You'll notice some of these other minority groups that are being organized by so-called leaders. They happen to have very good power blocks in certain cities. Detroit, Chicago, Atlanta. Of course, there's a very large black community that lends itself to a significant amount of political power for people there. Then you go to the Southwest, places like Arizona, even Colorado. There's parts that there's major Mexican American influence or Central American. You go to Miami, there's a significant Cuban American influence. It's not as common with American Indians because they've kind of been shoved over to the side, put on reservations. A lot of them are literally wards of the state because they don't own the property. If you live on a reservation, you don't own the property that you have. In many cases, these people are basically living on government land their entire lives. They don't have any way to actually improve their own lives without basically risking losing everything that they have, which technically they don't have. That's about it. I hope you guys understand that I do have an independent perspective on this that I don't think fits in with any political camp or any side of the aisle. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have a sports team that you like that's Native American, for example. Let me know what your idea is as far as this mascot controversy, whether it's a real issue or not an issue, or whether you think that American Indians are, if you think that the American Indian problems are solvable, give me maybe an idea of what you think is the real solution, because Of course, there's all sorts of different schemes that people have proposed, but not much has been changing. That's about it. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to my other channel, Razor Ray Live Wounds. Also subscribe to me on BitChute and all the other media in the description. Comment, and I'll see you guys later.